Hello everyone, my name is Natalia Violi and I would like to do my assignment 5.7, second part about interview practice. So the first question is what does the CRISDM methodology and what does the data analyst do in its step? So CRISDM itself stands for cross-industry standard process for data mining, and it is a process model that serves as the base for a data science process. As you can see here, they cover 6 phases. The first one is business understanding, and the first part is the foundation. As you may know, the foundation is really important in every aspect of our life. So it's not only in data analytics, but foundation is always important because in here we would like to know what does the business needs. So we have to understand what's the requirement, the objective of our business. If we don't understand our business, then we would end up doing wrong things, at the end. That's why the first part is really important. And the second one is data understanding. In here, we would like to know what data do we have or do we need for our project. So maybe we start identifying, we start collecting our data, or even we start exploring our data to get to know them better. For example, we can use EDA technique, exploratory data analysis. We can start finding trend or pattern by analyzing their mean, median, or maybe maximum or minimum value. And the third one is data preparation. We spend a lot of time in data preparation. I think everyone knows about this one. I mean, because we do data cleaning in this step, that's why it takes a lot of time. Why do we need to clean our data? Of course, we want to avoid garbage in and garbage out as well. We want to make sure that our data is clean before we analyze them. And we can also maybe derive some attribute from the existing variable. We can also transform our data or integrate our data in this step. And then the next one is modeling. We would like to know that what modeling technique should we apply, which model that fits better our objective. We can use maybe classification, we can use maybe regression, just like best we can choose according to our need. And then the fifth is evaluation. In here, we decide which model fits better our objective. Which one should we approve? Are we going to proceed to deployment or are we going to iterate the process again? If it gets approved, then we continue to the last step, which is deployment. So in this step, we want to make sure that after we deploy our model, we want to make sure that the stakeholder itself can access our result. Otherwise, if they cannot access our result, then we do something for nothing. So we have to make sure that everything is going well at the end. And also the second question is explain what needs to be done before you can forecast time series and what does time series analysis involve. So time series itself is a specific way of analyzing a sequence of data points collected over an interval of time. And the goal itself is to find out why the data looks the way it does. And in practice, it means like we are looking for pattern or trends in our data and we are trying to explain them. And there are also certain main components to look out for in time series. There are stationary, autocorrelation, and seasonality. And this is really important for us to avoid doing econometric with data that is non-stationary, because we might find a risk, and the risk itself is we might discover a very strong relationship between two variables, which is actually do nothing other than the fact that everything increases or decreases because of a trend or seasonal element in the data, that which is it would end up we will have a misleading result or incorrect result because of them. In contrast, if we use stationary data, the expected value will remain constant because the autocorrelation, their mean and their variance will won't alter over time. So the value will remain constant. So we can say that a stationary time series will have a steady statistical trend over time. That's why if we have non-stationary data, we have to make sure that we should comfort them before we start analyzing them. And the third question is discuss the main principle of data ethics as well as what companies or organization could do to uphold these principles. So as you can see here, I put several principles, of course, there are a lot, but I put four principles here. The first one is data privacy. It refers to laws or and policies that define how company may collect, may handle, and store data. Maybe we can know, as we can know, there are also GDPR as a part of data privacy. So companies should comply with GDPR as well. And then the second one is data security. That's also a little bit similar to data privacy. Basically, data security exists to comply with data privacy laws, and to protect company and client from unauthorized access. So, for example, the company can use encryption or maybe firewall, password, and everything. Every policies that can define who can access data. There are all under the umbrella of data security. And then data transparency. The third one, as we can see, transparency is really important. It provides customer with an inside look into how the data is collected and used by the company. With data transparency, customers should know why the company needed data or how their information is gathered and then where it is stored and how it is protected by the company. And the last one is really important, accountability. This is how organization take responsibility for what happened to an like individual data after collecting it. Be they have to take responsibility from data leaks or maybe from selling them to third parties. Company must accept any responsibility for any damage that they make during the process. And then the fourth question is, this is a scenario that imagine you are an analyst at a financial services company and you have some concern about bias in the way a predictive model was measured. And then how would you raise your concern with your manager and make some suggestion for how to avoid measurement bias in the future? So as we may know that we all have bias, whether we are conscious or unconscious, you know. So how would I raise my concern with my manager? I think my first step, I would challenge my bias first, my own bias. I actively challenge and question my own assumption and my stereotypes, like why, like I should ask myself, like why do I hold this certain belief, or why do I make this certain judgment, you know. I think I would challenge my own bias first before I come to my managers, and then I also maybe will surround myself with diverse people, diverse individuals and perspective, because engaging with people from different background will broaden my understanding and will minimize the bias as well. We minimize bias as well. And then I would also like to suggest any possible solution for my bias to my manager, and then I would be actively listen to my manager about their perspective. Maybe I believe everyone has their own perspective, so I would like to hear their opinion as well, and then I would be open to the given feedback as well. And then how to avoid measurement bias in the future. I put three steps, like three tips. First is like we have to choose appropriate measurement tools. In here, it is important to select appropriate measurement tools. For example, we can reduce selecting bias by choosing. Oh, I'm sorry. What I mean is like, because we have many tools. For example, we can use survey, we can use another technique to collect our data, but we have to make sure that the technique or the method that we use are well validated, reliable, and appropriate and suitable to our research or to our project. And then the second one is trained data collector, and I think this is really important because most of them we have a bias from human, and if human data collectors are involved, and then we need to provide training to ensure that they are consistent in their approach, and yeah, and they are also unbiased in their interaction with respondent. And then the third one is random sampling. This will help reduce the bias in selection. They would have reduced selection bias, because when selecting sample from a population, we need to make sure that we also use broaden sample, you know. This ensure that each member of the population has an equal chance of being included in the sample. Sometimes if we only use certain sample, then we will miss the whole measurement. So we have to make sure that we also use our sample that we use is also variative and can cover everything. And also the last question is the fifth question. The difference between regression and classification model, and when would you use one of these models over the others. And I think, as you can see in this picture, this also describe why they are different each other. And but for me, the main difference between both is like the regression model predict a continuous numeric value. As you can see here, the result is, for example, 84 Fahrenheit. But the other one, classification model assigns data point to a specific categories. In this case, they assign to cold or hot category. And yeah, their output is different. This one is class and this one is like a numeric value. And I would rather use regression analysis is if I would like to know the how strong it is the relationship between two variables. For example, the relationship between ice cream cells and temperature. As we can predict, maybe the hotter is the temperature, the higher is the ice cream cells. So I would rather use regression for that case. And for classification, I would like to do classification if I want to know, if I want to predict a binary outcome. For example, whether I want to give a loan to a bank, the answer is yes or not. And then I would like to predict whether the student would pass the exam or not. So I would like to predict whether the student pass the exam, and the outcome may be failure or success. So that's classification. And I think that's the end of my interview practice, and thank you for listening, and I would like to receive your feedback. Thank you.